Alright, in this section, we're going to do some bug fixes. We're going to start off and locate any current bugs. Then, if found, we're going to fix those bugs. After that, we're simply going to add some preferences to make the game look and work better. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's go ahead and do some bug fixes. So starting off, I haven't found any bugs. Please let me know if you find any, but there are some preferences I would suggest. First thing in the main menu screen is this mute button. I don't like how it's right up against the screen. So this is just up to you if you want to do it, but I think it looks a lot nicer if we give it a little bit of room. So what I'm going to do is just move it over a bit, just a bit over here. Let's go ahead and just move it just a little bit. It'll probably look a lot nicer if we have it like that. So let's save that there. Let's go ahead and see how that looks on game start. That looks really well. Another thing, this is just another preference, is I don't really like how high up the camera is, especially when you get a game over, as seen in 1 second. The character kind of is really close to that main menu button. So what I think we should do is lower the screen just a little bit to kind of center things up, okay? And we can do that simply by going into the player and then going to the screen for the camera and just move it down just a little bit to something about like, let's go like right there. Now, one thing to note though is we are resetting the camera position in the camera script after the boss battle. So we need to go ahead and change that Y value to whatever we have here, which is -45. So go ahead into the camera script, scroll on down, and you're going to see it was currently at -99. Just change that to -45 or whichever one you had it at, okay? Save that change. Let's go ahead and see how that looks. Back to main menu, start current game, hit level 1. That's a lot better, more centered. Let's see what happens when we get to game over. Make sure that it is a little better looking, nice. There is an issue here though. As you can see, we didn't move the panel though. Thus, that's why we're getting that little issue there. So what we can do is go to the player, simply go ahead, select the panel, and just stretch that out right below. Okay, save that change. Now there is one other thing that you should note that you might be having an issue with if you didn't set things up correctly, and that is the slimes. So if you remember the slimes, we are resetting the position when they get to a specific spot. We do have a little bit of wiggle room there. I think we had it set to 5, but if you're having issues where it's basically not resetting it correctly, then what I would do is simply go into your slime. So open it up, go to the basic slime, go to its spot here, and then you can increase this 5 to something like 10 or 15, whatever you need to basically get more close to it. Because what's happening is if it doesn't reach that point or below that point, basically it's not going to reset the position. So make sure you do that if you need to. All right, but overall, I think the game works pretty well. There's only really one more thing I would change, and that's just to add a little sound effect once you get to the end of the level. You can do that simply by going into the player, going into sounds, just simply add a new sound. I'm going to take one of the current ones, and we'll just go ahead, call it SFX, and we'll call it win. And then I'm going to use the sound for, I think it's magic. Let's see, yep, magic, drag and drop it on there. Go into our player script, scroll on down to where the win area is, right over here. Underneath where we set the global variable to true, go ahead and just drag and drop the win sound. Do a dot play. And just like that, we'll have a sound effect for when we win a game. So let's go ahead, back to 2D view, back to main. Close things up. Start current scene. Let's go ahead and just win a little level. And just make sure that that sound plays, which will help notify that you actually win the game. There we go. Nice. And again, you can use whatever sound, but I think that works pretty well. Overall though, everything looks great. Congratulations on completing the project. Let's review what we learned and made. We learned many things in this project. We created a classic style platformer game where your player can move around the level, avoiding and attacking enemies. We also added multiple levels, power-ups, and a boss battle. Some things you could add to this game are possibly a rideable pet, or maybe even more power-up types. Again, congrats, and see you in the next section. Congratulations again on completing the project. Before we continue on to the next section, I'd like to discuss with you a little bit about one of our higher level courses, our Advanced Godot Game Development course. Now in this course, you start creating more complex style games. We're going to be adding multiple mechanics in them, specifically for real-time strategy games, inventory management, and open world generation. Now, I highly recommend you take this course. You can find it on the official website, redfoolstudio.com, or if you're watching this video on YouTube, simply just select the link in the description below. Again, thank you for being a participant in this course, and I can't wait to see you in the next section. In this project, we will be creating a classic platformer style game. We will learn how to create platform style character movement, power-up collection, multiple enemy types, and level design. On top of all that, we will also create a boss battle as a final level for our game. If you would like to play the example of this game for free, you can navigate to the link below. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. In this section, we're going to set up everything we need for our zombie shooter game. We're going to start off and download all the asset packs we're going to be using at these links here. We're then going to go ahead and create all the new folders for the game's art and components. After that, we're going to add a main node that will be the starting scene for our game. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. This here is the first asset pack we're going to use for our game. It's called Top Down Shooter. You can locate it at kenny.nl/assets/top-down-shooter. Once here, simply scroll on down and select the download button. Once downloaded, open it up in File Explorer, right-click and select Extract All. For our second asset pack, if you don't already have it, it's called UI Pack. You can find it at kenny.nl/assets/UI-pack. Again, once here, simply scroll on down, select the download button. Don't forget to open it up in File Explorer, right-click, and select Extract All. Once you've downloaded all your asset packs, let's go ahead and create a new project. I called mine Zombie Shooter Game. Once your project's loaded up, go ahead, select the 2D view. Once you're in the 2D view, let's create a couple folders. Let's go ahead, right-click, create new folder. We're going to call this first one Art, and this is where we're going to drag and drop in all those asset packs. I'm also going to change the color of this one to color of red. Let's also go ahead, right-click, create new folder. Let's call this one Components. I'm going to make this one yellow, right-click. Let's also go ahead, create one for our scripts. Let's right-click, create new folder, call this one Scripts. And I'm going to go ahead and make this one the color of green, right-click, green. Now we just need one more for the scenes, so let's go ahead, right-click, create new folder, Scenes. And I'm going to change the color of scenes simply to purple. Nice. All right. Next up, we just need to create our simple main scene node, which we can do right on the left here. Select that 2D scene, rename it as main. Go ahead, save that. It's going to ask you where you want to save it. Simply save it in the scenes folder we just created. Go ahead, save what you got. And we're looking good so far. In this section, we're going to go ahead and get started creating our UI. We're going to start off and discuss all the UI needed for the game. We're then going to go ahead and create the main node for the UI. After that, we're going to add our first UI page for the Start Screen menu. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. This here represents all the different UI screens we're going to create. Starting off on the top left, this is going to represent our main menu. When the player first starts the game, this screen will be visible. It's going to consist of a simple game title and then also a play game button. We're also going to add a nice little animation in the background of zombies running across the screen. Once we hit play, we're going to be sent to the second screen, which is the in-game screen. This screen is going to consist of a couple different things. On the top left, this is going to represent our current health. We're also below it going to have some text representing how much ammo we have and what type of gun we're using. On the top right of it, we're going to have our quit game button. On the bottom right, we're going to have the current wave we're at. The third screen is going to be our store screen. Once the player walks into an area where it's going to have the store activated, we're going to have a couple different options. First thing, of course, it's going to tell us which gun we can buy. And then we're, of course, going to have the option to buy the new gun, or instead just buy more ammo for that gun if we currently already have it. The final UI screen we're going to create is going to be our game over screen. Once the player is in the game over state, a little animation is going to darken out the screen. We're then simply going to have our game over text, and then a button that sends us back to the main menu. Alright, let's get started creating our first UI. This is going to be our starting menu. Before we start that though, let's go ahead and create a new node to house all the UIs we're going to create. So let's go ahead, right click on our main, add child node, start it off with a simple node 2D, change the name of the node 2D, simply call it UI capitals. Nice. Then we're going to go ahead and right click, add child node, and we're going to use a canvas layer. Now the reason we're using that canvas layer is because we want things to scale correctly. Alright, so let's create that. Now we can rename this as menu. And we're going to do the same thing for each other UI screen. So for our menu though, we need to add a couple things, starting off with a nice little background. And I found the best way to do this is simply use a tile map layer. So let's go ahead and select menu, right click, add child node, search for the tile map layer, make sure you're selecting that one, hit create. Now we can go ahead and adjust things. First thing you need to do is set the tile set from empty to new tile set. Select it again. Alright. Now what we got to do is go ahead and open up your art, open up top-down shooter, locate the tile sheet, and we're going to be using this one here, which I think is going to be a 64 by 64. So before we drag and drop it in, let's change that tile size from 16 to 64 to 64. Then go ahead, select tile set, simply drag and drop the tile sheet underscore complete.png right here. Go ahead and select no for this because we're going to slice it ourselves. And again, because this is 64 by 64, make sure that texture region also says X64 and Y64. Now we're going to reuse this one a lot, but for this one, we simply just want a nice little green background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the top left one right here, and then I'm going to go to tile map, select it, use the rectangle tool, and simply just outline the background of the screen, just like that. Nice. And again, you can use whatever tile you want. This is simply going to be the background of our main menu. Now, next thing we can do is let's go ahead and give it a nice label and a button. So let's right click on menu, add child node. Let's go ahead and for the title, we'll just do a simple label. Go ahead, give it the correct text. I'm going to call it capital Z, Zombie Shooter Game. I'm going to go ahead, stretch this out a bit here, make it match up. Then we can go ahead, center everything up, select it, new label settings, go to the font, and just simply increase it to something you want. I'm going to do, let's see how 90 looks. That might be a little too big. I do kind of like it though. I'm also going to go ahead and do an enter after the game to have it look like this. I might also lower it just a bit. Looks good. I'm also going to change the color. I'm going to change this to a red. Kind of fits the theme of the zombie game. I'm also going to give it a nice outline. Make sure to set the size to something pretty high. Let's do 35. And change that color to black. And there we go. That's going to be our title. And if you want to, you can go ahead, give it a name. So label title. Then, of course, we need the play button. Let's go ahead, right click on menu, add child node, another node 2D for this. Go ahead, rename this as button, capital P play. Now we just need to add the components for it. So let's right click, add child node. We're going to use a 9 patch rect because we know this helps the scaling of different buttons. So we're going to have this in there. Then we just need the simple sprite we need, which we know is going to be inside of our Kenny_UI-pack. Go ahead, open that up, go to PNG, and I'm going to use the red buttons. Again, you can always use whatever color you want, but I'm going to use the red one, default size, and I'm going to scroll on down to this one here, the button rectangle depth border.png. I'm going to take that, drag and drop it in, and then simply just scale it out to the size I want. Something like that should be good. If you want to zoom in a bit, you can also adjust it. If you go to the patch margins, you can set this to whatever you want. Usually the best one to do is 5 all the way around. So I'm going to set that just to make it look nice and pixel perfect. There we go. Looks good. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the button play. Make sure you're moving it by the main node of it. And I'm going to put it like right underneath our game. Nice, that looks pretty good. I'm also going to give the button play another label. Capital P play. Stretch it to cover it. Center it up. We might move it up just a little bit, just so it's a little more centered. And then go ahead, give it a new setting. Change the font to something a little bigger. I'm going to do 25. Maybe a little bigger than that. Let's do 30. It's up to you what you want to do there. And then go ahead and change the color to black. And with that, I think it looks pretty good. I might increase it just a little bit more, just to like 35. And there we go. Nice. All right. Now we just need the actual button component. So on button play, right click, add child node. Look for that button node. Make sure to label it correctly. So button play is what we'll call it here as well. Go ahead, stretch it around the entire button. Go ahead now. We need to adjust this because I don't want to grayed out. To change that, we can go ahead, look for the theme, change type variation from nothing to a flat button. Now, if we don't change this other setting, though, it's going to have a nice little white rim, and I don't really like that. So what I like to do is go into Theme Overrides, go to Styles, and then see where it says Focus, select that empty. Go to New Style Box Flat, select it again, and simply make the BG color completely invisible by lowering the A value all the way. And you'll no longer see that button. Nice. Or the button rim. You'll see the button, but you won't see the rim of it. I can show you it by saving real quick, starting current scene, let that load. And if I hit it, you'll see there's no white rim around it, versus if we didn't change that, there would be. Now we just need a nice little background, and I think it would look really cool if we have a little zombies coming down, and we can do that pretty easily. Let's go ahead, close these up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, close the button. We're going to right click, add child node, and we're going to use a CPU particles 2D. All right, let's go ahead and add that in. This just helps us make little particle effects, but to make the particle effects work with the zombies, we can do that as well. If you move it though, you're going to see it's already working. It's just shooting down little white particles, but we don't necessarily want that. We want to change that a bit. So what I'm going to do is set the settings to what we need. So let's go ahead and first change the texture. Currently it's not set to anything. We can go ahead back into our art folder, top-down shooter, and simply look for the PNG and scroll on down to Zombie 1. Go ahead and select the zombie you want to use. I'm going to use the hold one because it's sticking out its arms, which I think it looks really cool. Let's take that, put that right there. There we go. Now we just need to adjust this. Let's adjust the amount simply to 9. That'll be a better amount. We're also going to position this right above, right here, and you'll see why. Then we're going to go ahead, adjust some things in time. Current lifetime is set to 1. We need to make that a little longer, clearly, because it's disappearing right here. So I'm going to simply set it to 2. Now you can see it goes correctly all the way down. We're also going to go ahead. Let's adjust the pre-process. The reason why we need to set the pre-process is because it won't just start from scratch. It'll actually have some before it, which will look a lot better. And I'm going to do that just simply 2 seconds. We're also going to go ahead, speed scale, set to 1. I'm going to change that to 0.5. That's going to look a little more smooth. And then we're also going to go ahead. We're going to do a couple things. We're going to do emissions now because it's just a line here. We kind of want it to like spread out. So we're going to go to emission shape. And we're going to change it from point to rectangle. And then we just need to adjust this from the starting area to the ending area over here, which we can do simply by setting, let's set the Y value to 1, but the X value, we're going to extend that a bit. So we want it to go from all the way here to here. So I'm going to put this one over here and then extend it. Let's do something like 590. I think that should work. All right. Now, the one thing to note when this happens is because it's extending both ways. So how we can fix that is simply just center it up in the middle of the game. And what I want to make sure is there's none going too far or too close to the edges, which I think we should be okay. Looks like there's a little bit to the edge. So instead, I'm going to decrease that. Instead of 590, let's do something like 570. That should be a little better. You might need to play around with this, but I think this looks pretty good. All right, nice. Next up, we're going to go ahead. We're going to change a couple things. Let's scroll down, to gravity. And the gravity is set to 980. If we decrease that, it'll be a little more smooth. Let's do 500. There you go. It's a little slower, as you can see. I like it. We're also going to go ahead and we're going to go to the angle because they're currently not facing the correct direction. Let's go to angle. Angle velocity, or it should just be an angle, which should be around here. There we go, angle. Currently we're set to 0 and 0. We're going to set this simply to, let's do -90 and -90 here as well, and that should make them face the correct direction. Nice, and as you can see, that looks good. Now, the other thing we can do as well is adjust the scale. They're a little small, I think, so we can adjust the sizing. Go into scale, simply set it to 1.5 for each value here, and there you go. And again, if you want to back it up a bit, just so they're not on top of each other, you can. It's kind of up to you. I think this looks pretty good, though. There's a bunch of other settings in here if you want to. There's like randomness you can set, explosiveness, all that different stuff. But so far, I think this looks pretty good. We might adjust it later, but for now, this works great. Now, one thing to note, though, as you can see, they're going on top of the label and the play button. To fix that, easiest way is simply take the CPU Particles 2D and put it right on the top, or better yet, below the tile map layer, but above the title. Right there, and there we go. The scaling and the layering will be correct now. Looks great. Let's go ahead, close up what we got here. Close everything up. Let's close up the menu. Save what you got, and we're looking good.